Hey everybody. So by request, I had somebody asking me to do a how to install and configure Windows 95 and 86box. So I'm using the Mac version of 86box, which is MacBox for those of you that are not familiar with the Mac version of 86box. So this is the same will apply on the PC version of MacBox of 86box. So with that being said, what we're gonna do, the first thing is we're gonna add a VM. So let me drag this window over here. So what we're gonna name the virtual machine is Windows 95. And it's going to just simply add it over to our list. So you want to keep in mind there's like 4 to 5 different versions of Windows 95. You got Windows 95 RTM. You got Windows 95 version A also, which is OSR 1. Which, if you don't know what OSR stands for, it's OEM Service Release. Then you got two different revisions of OSR 2.0. You got OSR 2.0, which is version B, and you got a revision to version B, which is OSR 2.1, that adds USB support. So it's basically Windows 95 version B with USB support and a lot of bug fixes. And you got the final release, which is OSR 2.5, which is version C. So however, in this video we're going to be using version B, which we're going to be using OSR 2.1. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go into the virtual machine settings. So we can do some adjustments here so we can get it fully configured. So for the machines type, we're going to use a 1990. We're going to use a slot 1 1997. And I'd recommend using the i440VX, one of the boards. Which seemed to work fine, so what we're going to use make it where we have a decent, which we want is like to have one that uses a decent CPU and a decent. So with this being Windows 95 OSR 2.1, we don't need nothing that's going to be overkill. So we're just going to use 166 megahertz, which will be good enough. And for memory, we're going to bump it up to 64 megabytes. So if you're going to play a few little games in Windows 95, at least you'll have a little extra speed. Or you can max it up to 128 megabytes. Although Windows 95 usually doesn't use up a lot of memory. So for the video card, what we're going to select is the PCI S3 Vision Diamond Stealth 64 VRAM. So our input device, we're going to make sure we're going to select the PS2 mouse. For sound, if you want good MIDI playback, I'd recommend the Sound Blaster 16, which Windows 95 has built-in support. Same deal with the AW32, which I'm going to use the AW32 if you want that good MIDI playback. In network, we're going to select for the network mode to be Slurp. And the adapter is what we're going to select is the Realtek RTL 8029AS, which Windows 95 has built-in support for that network card in particular. We'll just leave this alone. We want the hard drive and the floppy disk controller to be both internal controllers. So we're going to create a hard disk for Windows 95. We're going to give it Windows 9. Since Windows 95 doesn't really take up a lot of disk space, so I'm going to give Windows 95 basically a 4 GB partition. And even though it reminds us to don't forget the format. So we're going to change our floppy disk drive to a 3.5-inch 1.44 megabyte. And we'll do away with the secondary floppy drive. Unless you want to use like 5.25-inch floppy disk. And for CD-ROM drive, we're going to select ATPI. And everything looks good. So we're going to have to go into the BIOS and make sure everything is all perfectly set. So we could be able to boot from whatever boot device that you're going to be using to install Windows 95. So we're going to start the VM. Let me drag this window over here. Because most BIOS you're going to have to hit the delete key to get into the setup. If you need to adjust the boot sequence for your virtual machine, you can go ahead and do that while you're in here and save it. And this will be a good time to insert your boot disk and your ISO image of Windows 95. And let me get all that inserted and I'll be right back. So since I got everything inserted, so we can go ahead and restart. So if you're familiar with installing Windows 95, for some of you it's pretty much straightforward. But I know a lot of people are not familiar with installing Windows 95, so at least you can stick around. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in fdisk. And we want to enable large disk support. So we're going to press Y and hit enter. We're going to create a DOS partition. What we're going to do is we're going to create a primary DOS partition. And we're going to use the maximum available size, so we're going to hit enter. And so with that being said, we can go ahead and restart the virtual machine so we can go ahead and do the format. So what we're going to do is we're going to type format C:, and we're going to press Y and hit enter. So it'll format the hard drive. And we're going to hit enter. While we're in the DOS environment, before we get to the Windows 95 setup portion, there's something important if you're going to install, if you're installing Windows 95 or Windows or any 9X based operating systems like Windows 98 or Windows Me. What we're going to do is we're going to change the directory over to the C drive, since we are just by doing a simple C:, and pressing enter, which will go into which will change over to the C drive. So what we're going to do in the C drive, we're going to make a directory MD Windows, press enter. And we're going to change the directory into the Windows directory. And we're going to do MD options. And we're going to do CD options. MD cabs. And and change into the cabs directory. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into we're going to create a directory where we can copy all the installation files from the Windows 95 CD onto the hard drive. So one thing though, with using the Windows, if you're using a Windows 95 boot disk, it doesn't the drive letter is usually going to be R. So we're going to do a simple dir so we know we got the Windows 95 CD-ROM. We're going to change into the Windows 95 directory, and we're going to do another dir, make sure that's all the cab files. So we're going to do a copy *** C:/Windows options cabs. And it's going to copy everything from the Windows 95 folder on the Windows 95 CD into the cabs directory that we created on the hard drive in the virtual machine. You could do this on an actual computer if you're going to do a clean installation of Windows 95. Since everything's copied over, so we're going to go back and change over to our C drive and do a dir so it shows that everything's since everything's been copied over, we can go ahead and eject our CD drive, our disk image, and our floppy disk boot disk. So we can go ahead and do a setup /is so we can skip the scan disk portion of setup. So we're going to go ahead and click continue. And we're going to go ahead and accept the license agreement if we dare. So we're going to go ahead and click next. We're going to select other directory. We're going to erase the .000 on the, because we wanted to install directly to C:/Windows, and click next. And we're going to continue using the specified directory. What we're going to do is we're going to do a custom installation. So we're going to select this bottom one right here. Go ahead, click next. And go ahead and take the time and enter your Windows 95 product key. And I'm going to enter mine, and I'll be right back. Once you got done entering your product key, now you can go ahead and enter your name. And we're going to go ahead and click next. And we're going to use we're going to select yes for analyzing your computer. So we're going to select network card and sound and MIDI video capture card, since that's what this virtual machine's got. So we're going to go ahead and click next. Alright, since we did a custom, we can be able to choose whatever optional components. So if you had selected the typical earlier, what you can do is it'll still give you the option where you can show a list of optional components. So you could, I wouldn't go for the most common components. I'd just go for like select the show a list so we can know what we're installing. So however, we're going to get all the accessories and make sure we got everything in all the accessories, so we should be all good to go in there. And we'll get all the disk tools, and we'll get all the multimedia, all the other stuff. We should be alright. Let's make sure we get everything in multimedia, so because we're going to need the MIDI file so we can test the sound card for the MIDI playback. So we're going to go ahead and click next since we got everything, all the accessories, disk tools, and multimedia. And we'll go ahead and click next. And so what we're going to do is we're going to click add. We're going to add a protocol. And click add. So we're going to select Microsoft. We're going to add a TCP/IP protocol. And we'll go ahead and click OK. And we're going to make sure that it's set to obtain IP address automatically, and so we should be all set. And you can give the virtual machine a name. And you don't really have to put it in a work group. And once you got everything set to your liking, then you can go ahead and click next. And if everything looks good, you can go ahead and click next. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure our monitor is set to plug and play monitor. So we can go ahead and click next, and we're not going to do a startup disk, so we should go ahead and start copying files over to the computer. And once you see this portion, then this is definitely a good sign. And I'll be right back once it's done, once it's ready to restart. So we're getting near to the finish line on this portion of setup. So if you have any CD-ROMs or any floppy disk inserted, it'd be a good time. You should be ready to take them out before you get ready to restart. So just right when you get to the end of this part of setup. So like it said, like to remove any disk from their drives and click finish, so we can continue with the other half of setup. And this part is optional if you want to create a username and password. And we're going to go ahead and select our time zone and click apply and click OK. And we're not going to set up a printer because it's not like we need one on this virtual machine. So go ahead and click cancel. And just like that, we heard sound, so that's definitely a good sign that the sound's working. Because when you enable sample sounds, you'll definitely get all the error sounds in Windows 95. And just like that, we can go ahead and enter our password. And we can go ahead and close out of that and adjust. Let's make some adjustments real quick. let's get it to our screen resolution and our color depth. We'll definitely apply without restarting. So and let's make sure the MIDI card is working. Because we're going to do a simple little canyon test. And so far it sounds good. But if your copy of Windows 95 has Plus, you can actually install Plus if you want. So I hope this video helped you guys, and hope y'all found it useful, and thanks for watching.